Broadcasting Radio Network, and Hard Copy seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan ready to embrace the future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, my friends, we have a country to build. We've got jobs and industry to create, a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians. We, the people, must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, the PLP appears to be ready and be taking any prisoners. We're going to have a recap, take a look at things today. Danny Johnson, the Minister of Youth and Culture, with me on the show today, and there's a lot to talk about, believe you me. This is Hard Copy.
It's said that variety is the spice of life, and the Banyas manufacturer
2017 as you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, trying to get home. We understand. Fair skies, sunny conditions on the outside. 78 degrees right now in the nation's capital, low tonight of 68. And we thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We are brought to you today by Mount Tabor Inspiration, the Ministry of Tourism, Haji's, your everything store, Majority Rule 50th celebrations. Of course, Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card, Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane, and Devania Spices and Manufacturing Limited, Cool Tech, the Egg and Do experts, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages, Kalina Insurance for comprehensive coverage, Superwash, open 24/7, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, Super Value, the all Bahamian supermarkets, the Shore Bistro on Nassau Street, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue, Ron's Electric Motors, Claridge and Wolf Road, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue, the People's Movement, they're getting a big meeting on Tuesday night, and McKinney Media Group for the best results in advertisement and public affairs. 325-0235 is how you call me. WhatsApp and texting 376-9234. Follow us on the World Wide Web, peace1075.com. Cable top box 970. Tune in radio, iPad, iPhone, and the Android. Follow us on Facebook, Hard Copy, Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas, and go to the Hard Copy YouTube channel. You'll see us in a minute as we come up streaming. So we welcome you on to this Friday, and this is the day after a week of explosive events happening in the Cable Beach area. That's at Malia. That is where the convention of the Progressive Liberal Party took place, and a lot of people are wondering just really how did it go? Well, did you not hear what was happening on radio? Did you not see what was happening on television? I know you want to analyze that and figure out what that means. What it means, as I took a look at it, it means to me that the PLP appear to be ready. It means to me that they appear not to be taking any prisoners. They seriously come to move something. Now, a lot of you out there wondering what's going on here within the actual leadership race. You know what happened. The results came out, and of course, apparently, Bradley Roberts also made a statement today that tells us that they are on one accord. There's no fighting, there's no kind of bickering, even though there was something in the newspapers that Alfred Sayers, who was the contender, who wanted to take on Christie and vie for leadership, he had said that he was going to, make some complaints and the rest of it. Maybe he did. But what's happening, he also said that he was going to be a part of a team that he hopes to work with to go forward in the general elections upcoming and do his part as the person who wants to become the member of parliament for Fort Charlotte. So it seems like Sayers is comfortable with what happened, and Christie is very comfortable with what happened. The chairman is very comfortable with what happened, and of course the delegates seem to be on one accord. So when I tell you that they are now fired up and ready, and obviously ready to go to the elections, you must believe me. They have been spinning the narrative throughout the entire convention about the stability of the party. And when you compare that stability with what has been happening in the Free National Movement by perception, and I do say that, by perception, the Free National Movement seems to be not really yet to launch and get out of the gate. We don't know what they got planned. But when you compare what had happened in November to that of the Free National Movement, even though they've said that that's behind them, the crowd that you saw at the convention and the enthusiasm that was there tells you that the base of the PLP obviously are fired up if there's only them, and they are waiting and ready to get things underway. So the official results, of course, was 1,264 votes for Mr. Christie, and he remains as the undisputed leader. And Alfred Sayers, who was the contender going into this one, he got only 169 votes. We have to look at the numbers and analyze that later on, perhaps in today's show, or perhaps even later on Sunday, take an analytical look at this whole thing, because it seems as if even though there was great hoopla and fanfare that Mr. Sayers would have had the support of a lot of the delegates, there were more than 1,400 delegates participating, and delegates and store councilors. And what happened was that 169 is a far cry from even the results that were had by Bernard Knowledge and Perry Christie and who else was it? There was also Phil Kalanas in 1997, if you could remember that. And so these results were kind of like dismal in actual total numbers. We don't know what that means. We don't know what the word is yet. No one has told us, but maybe everybody who promised to vote didn't vote. I don't know. All I'm saying is that, for the most part, let me tell you right off the top, I give that to you. It was very impressive.
Yes.
And it seems to be gelling together. I give you that too. And there was some good speakers, like Glennis gave us a lot of good information. Fred Mitchell was not so bad. Alcides, but I suppose
he said at least something about the VAT money.
He said something.
We're beginning that conversation.
The people are saying, well, you say something, but that ain't what we want to hear. Anyway, that's the
We'll
other
tell you
thing.
more. There's more to come.
Of course, and then we had Ken Dorset and all of those others.
Jerome
Kayla
Fitzgerald
Jones and Jerome Fitzgerald did good on education for the most part, but he didn't go far enough on a lot of things, in my view. But he was good on the scholarship things, and he was talking about education, and that's very good. The university part of it, that's very good. We're going to take a look at some of those things that were highlights of it, and I suppose talk to you about that as well. But first and foremost, tell me, how was this convention for you and the body politic of the Progressive Liberal Party? Because it has been a while. It has been a while that you've been in convention like that, and I want to know how was this particular one? Did you fire on all cylinders? Did you get the kind of response that you're expecting from the straight across the board members of the PLP? Because I saw a lot of young people inside there, and I said, well, they told me that the PLP ain't got no young people. What is this? And then you topped off the night with all these people moving from the F&M to the front stage of the PLP, including names like Iwan Ingram.
We turned on the mic last night.
And then Algernon Howell. But Algernon Howell was always kind of like over there somewhere. And I saw this before, Danny. I saw this before. I saw in 2002 when Algernon mounted the stage for the first time with the PLP, he brought some people with him.
Yeah.
And I saw last night that when he mounted the stage, he brought some people with him. And they were some significant people. Yeah. And so that should make some people say, okay, what does this mean? Because these were always hardcore generals within the Free National Movement at some level. Cabinet ministers, Lester Turnquest and them, they went across. Yeah. They were there. And
Byron Woodside was a former minister.
Byron Woodside, that's right. He was the former minister. And he'd been kind of like dancing in the moonlight, trying to look and see if he should go over there or go over here. But he went back home to the PLP, and that's a serious thing.
Well, Steve, thank you for having me. You know, I'm your little brother from another mother. So it's good to be here with you, man. Absolutely. Happy New Year to you. I think you look well.
Same to you.
Continue to thrive, and God continue to bless you and your family.
Thank you.
We in the PLP are fired up and ready to go.
If they call election right now, you're ready.
Tonight, we could call election tonight. We beat you tomorrow. This week represented it's just a simple word: UNITY. UNITY. It showed we're looking at the core values of this party. We're paying attention to its history, and we got something to say about it. I have to also, of course, congratulate. I am not the convention chair. I got to congratulate Shane Gibson and his team, who are the convention chairs. He did a fantastic job there. Obi Wilchcombe, of course, who does a lot of the the backstage production for us. Did a fantastic job. Jerome, who assisted, Joe Curry, who assisted, everyone who was on that team who really, really did a great job with convention. We had to congratulate the party officers, the delegates, stalwarts of the PLP, all the main branches. All the branches came in from all the family of islands, from Abaco to Inagua, Andros, Eleuthera, Exuma, Cat Island, Ragged Island. Every single branch you can see in this country turned up and showed that they are ready to go. Of course, great thanks go to the three principals when it comes to conventions. And that is, of course, the chairman, Bradley Roberts, who was given a meritorious award for long service.
Is that right? Okay.
To the deputy leader, Philip Brave Davis, who really, I think, showed he is a real class act in his presentation, and in his speech deserve people taking a second look at to see what
he was very good.
What Brave is saying
He was very
in his presentation as a part of the Christie team, his friend, his legal partner. And yes, he has aspirations to be leader one day, and he probably will be. But the night goes to the party leader. We've only had 3 leaders in our 64-year history: H.M. Taylor, L.O. Pendling, and now P.G. Christie. And so last night, the people and the council and the Bahamas really got to see why Christie is still the leader of the PLP. Not the conjecture that people go out there and they talk all the stuff about you. The genuine, what it takes to win people power and the affection people had for him. And so myself, I was very privileged that PM asked me to be his campaign manager. I don't know why, but he said he would be teaching us young men over the next few years how it is done properly. And he intends to be at his best for the next several years. And so we have a lot to learn. So congratulations to everyone who came out. You saw what we could do. We demonstrated clearly our unity, our purpose, the passion behind the PLP, and really what it means. And you saw last night, because of that, you know, from Christie's entrance last night into that stadium to what we had outside. There were more people outside than were inside. We put a 20-foot screen outside.
So I'm told, yeah.
And it was just, I mean, crazy. As you said, the amount of young people that came to demonstrate their support. Because everyone talking, they ain't got no young people. We about 12 vice chairmen, 10 under the age of 30. I mean, you can't have all, but 10 under the age of 30. Jesus Christmas, man. You can't have more young people than that. We have to thank everyone who came out. So I'm just really here for the first thing to say to everyone about this week, about what they demonstrated, about the organizers, about the convention chair, the chairman, the deputy leader, and the leader. Job well done. Thank you very much. That's why people love the PLP.
Christie mounted the stage last night and he said, my heart is full. He says that there's so much I want to say, that kind of a thing. He seemed to have been very impressed with the fact that the delegates themselves, the people themselves, showed some serious love. You can almost feel that you know, they got great admiration and affection for Prime Minister Christie, the leader of their party, and they didn't play with it. They showed it. They displayed it.
It was a demonstration.
And
They
that's
demonstrated
what they did.
They see people demonstrate. This is democracy. So people can demonstrate against you. That's good. But then people can also demonstrate in support of you. And that's when you find out who is who. And so people watching that this week say, well, Mother takes it. Then what happened?
Yeah.
Those who are undecided start deciding.
So this looked like it. This looked like the train that we must.
They said who wasn't sure, they sure now.
You think this would happen? You think this would happen in the minds of some of those F&Ms who went across and decided to see what is significant about that is that they didn't just, you know, calmly walk across or mingle in the building and mashed in. They went on the stage.
They show people, they go on and say it's a demonstration. They are demonstrating the support.
Say, we have gone to the other side.
That's it.
We have gone to the PLP. The PLP must be talking some kind of sense that they can be attracted to go and say, this is where I now stand.
Right. Well, and Stephen, this is important too.
Could that be the flight, though? The flight of many more?
It is a flight of many more. The PLP is really founded on some big ideas. Selena used to call it, you know, the big picture, but I would reduce it to the big ideas. So when you're driving a country in a certain direction, and this vision catches on in each generation. You know, their idea for him, A.D. Hanna, Carlton Francis, even, and of course, Cecil Wallace Whitfield, my old man, the late great Oscar Johnson, their ideas were, look at, we can pull education in for everybody. We can have NIB for everybody. We can get a defense force. We can protect our borders for everybody. We can have a little college for everybody. And that's why we're going to call ourselves a commonwealth. And so Christie is now designing in his mind now, as he completes his bridge, his notion of the bridge, which is 20 years. You know, in that room, interestingly, that we are talking later, 20 years ago, in that same room, this year, Nott had challenged Christie for leadership. 1997, that's when he spoke about the bridge.
Yeah.
His big ideas now of which are going to drive us into the future, why I accepted his challenge to be his manager, is now UCB, University College Bahamas, designing a university city in Andros that will become a research center for the world. National health insurance, that means for everybody, once again, a big idea for everybody. And we can pull it together, saying that, okay, we got this tourism thing, it's done well, but we'll be done, y'all got to reinvent this. He wants us to become the #1 island destination for sports and entertainment in the world. Not in the Caribbean, in the world. That is going to create another industry all unto itself. That industry can be for everybody. You're going to see now Bahamianization again, that is going to lead to ownership.
Help us to understand. I'm going to get into all that, and that's fantastic stuff that you just coined just now, but help us to understand as a nation the magnitude, the enormity of a Perry Glaston Christie when it comes to his likability and the fact that he is still durable and is still lasting and outlasting others who have been in this game. You mentioned 64 years, three leaders in 64 years, and yet one
the other side that was 30.
with one who's been challenged, one who's been challenged by good men, by fellas who can in fact do a good job and run the show too. He has been able to defeat them, Kalanis and BJ Knowledge and others who came even later on.
Alfred Sayers, and kudos also to Alfred Sayers too. I mean, he mounted a great public relations campaign, yada yada yada. But he started to say the things that people they were saying, and once you start saying that, you're underestimating Christie, and then you're underestimating the PLP. So you could get at the leadership of the PLP, you know, but you have to go through the council.
Yeah.
And the council consists of wise people who are steeped in this,
So
people who have been through this, people who know exactly what they're talking about, and they will not pass that mantle until they show it as David sitting out there in the field.
So you think that he may have offended some people a little in his exuberance to become the leader and exercise his democracy to challenge for the leadership? You think that people may have been put off by that and decided to give him a rousing no, that kind of thing?
No, I think it's honestly, you could get at the leadership, but you have to go through this council. And in that council is a very vast array of enthusiastic supporters, participants,
the inner workings,
people who have galvanized support over the years, people who have been through the struggle of out of discrimination into Bahamianization, out of colonialization into where we are now, and they've galvanized the support around an identity that they hold.
But you're not saying
their leader.
But you're not saying that he has to stand in line and wait his turn. You're not saying
no.
You're saying that if you went through the council by, I suppose, sitting with them and getting wise counsel and knowing when to move, they would have told him what the end results were. That maybe that was not the best time.
My father told me one day, telling him about this great plan I had. He said, "Boy, that's a good idea, but this is a bad time."
So, but when is a good time? I mean, you mentioned it yourself.
That's why you have the process. The process yields. The process, I think, yields the time, and so it was good what happened because it tells everybody about what they want. You're not deciding yourself; you put it to your people.
Understood. But listen, you said it yourself earlier, and this is true. that in 1997, Christie had been challenged by B.J. Nottage. It was an epic battle. I remember that one. And he won. He won. There's no question, clear winner. But the thing about it is that in that 20-year period, maybe one would get the notion in thinking that, well, this is sufficient time to have been able to build that bridge that Christie talked about, building the bridge to the future. And
maybe it is built.
So but I'm saying that to say Alfred Sayers coming around in this season perhaps is indicative of him believing that bridge has been built sufficiently strong enough that he can cross that bridge now and get the rest of the people to come across with him into something newer, like a newer Bahamas. And
that's fair.
And I suppose that is where he was coming from. So I don't know. I'm just saying that in a way, Danny Johnson, people could get this misconception, they could get this belief that, if you want to call it that it's going to never be time to go across.
Well, the time is coming, and I think I have such respect for the trustees. That's why I want to thank them, the delegates, the stalwarts. The time is coming, and then they have a sense of what that is and when it is, and that we'll come to that one day. But for now, we have another time that is coming. We've shown last night, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we don't have a leadership issue.
No, you don't. Certainly.
See, that list,
Christie,
that
the
over.
undisputed leader.
Some other people got
There's
some
no
things
question
about leadership.
Yeah.
We don't have that
Understood.
issue.
Understood.
Now, we showed we were prepared and organized. We showed we could produce something that I think Bahamians want to be associated with. You know, when I did the last World Relays, I was enamored the next day that the Tribune, who were not necessarily always supporters of this government, had the entire front page with one phrase on it: proud to be Bahamian. Number Danny Johnson, number the PLP, number Barry Christie. That what we did made them, our people, proud to be Bahamian. And I think what happened last night, all across the Bahamas, people, no, I'm saying we touched a little bit on that again last night, where people saw the last 3 days, they listened to what we're talking about, they looked at where we're going, and they said, you know, this is something that I feel I could be a part of again.
Well, obviously, the overall thing went pretty smooth. I thought it was impressive, and I thought it was well attended. And I thought you had a cross section of everybody there.
Yeah.
I saw all kinds of people there.
Amen.
And I was one who sat there, and I said to those who were around me, I said, you know, I see a lot of Free National Movement people in there. And they said, well, I see a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And they all had on PLP paraphernalia. And I'm like, okay, well, I thought, they say, okay, well, I see. So, but then at the end of the day, when they went on the stage, and I know I wasn't wrong.
Exactly.
I said, I probably had it wrong all these years, thinking that this one was over there because I saw them over there. And yet that's what they were there in the room. Now, Danny Johnson, the thing about it is this, that you had the people, you had the hoopla, you had the music, the entertainment was off the chain. There's no one in the Bahamas, and I'm biased because I like Irish Store. That's my man.
Amen.
And I tell you, ain't nobody as good as Irish Store. When Irish Store licking that thing, that's real music.
You feel it.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that you had the entertainment.
And Ronnie.
Yes, of course, Ronnie, with the most respect.
And the king himself.
You had that entertainment, but did you have the gravitas? Did you have the content? Did you have that content straight across the board? Christie was always awesome. Christie's always awesome, so Christie had his stuff. But Obi was not bad at all, Wilshcombe. I thought that he brought a charge and he brought a kind of heat to the room.
Yeah.
And I saw people just sat back and was absorbing that. I said, Obi is waxing at his most eloquent best. This is his thing. He liked this kind of thing.
Yes.
And he sounded a little bit like Sir Lyndon, a couple intervals, and I can't tell him that because that's what his head. But the point is this, he sounded good. Now, I'm saying though, the content, there were some members, some ministers, Dr. Danny Johnson, who in fact was like not on their game. This is my observation.
Yeah.
Missing some parts that they should have been on top of. Like Glenys Hannah Martin deserves an award. I'll tell you why. Content, information, steadiness. She was good. She was good with the content. That's what people want. Compare her to Michael Alcides with the content. Michael Alcides was a little bit more rhetoric, full of that kind of hype and that kind of stuff, in my opinion, as a journalist. not enough information that we can bite into and say, okay, I see you, I hear what you're saying. We couldn't connect it.
Yeah.
We saw what he's saying, and it was all beautiful rhetoric, and it was well done.
Yeah.
There's no, that was well done, but it didn't have what the people was looking for in that.
But-
And then, no, let me finish.
Yeah,
And then,
right.
then you had, what's his name? Fred Mitchell,
Mhm.
the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I like Fred Mitchell. I liked him at that convention. That no nonsense, let me just tell you what the deal is, and I ain't joking, this is it, and I don't care what you're saying, this is it. That's good, I like that. And it was timely, it needed to be said.
Yeah.
And I think he did a good job of saying it. It was also timely, but not enough information on content with the passport. I like what he was telling, when I heard this thing, the passport, my ass itch, because we know so many people who need to have their passport done. It's taking too long. And so when he said that tomorrow, first thing, we're rolling out this new comprehensive thing, I said, well, thank you, Jesus, because the people need that. Everyone, even with this election's going, but he didn't go far enough for us to get the, but the point is, I'm saying that everything was there on point, as the young people say, but there were some things that was lacking in content. Now, you're gonna have to do better in the content on things like what happened to the VAT money. Don't just tell me what happened to the VAT money. Well, we spent it, and that's where it's gone.
You're saying what was spent on.
Yeah, but that's
And
where it's
unreasonable
gone.
things. I
Yeah,
mean,
but,
the
you
defense
know,
force,
Yeah, no, but the defense
the
force.
stuff like that. I mean, they're major things that have to be done. The infrastructure,
Of course, I see
university college
Yes, of
departments. I mean,
course.
obviously, stuff like
Yeah.
you see what we've done with the stadium. You see what we've done with the gym.
Mhm.
You go down past Paradise Island Bridge now. You drive past the two bridges.
Mhm.
At the bottom of each bridge, you see something absolutely phenomenal happening where that used to be a dump.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
this
You mean
is
that,
what-
that whole soccer.
They're
Volleyball
going
and all that.
straight down all the way to
Yeah,
Hoop.
yeah, well, I saw that.
There's no way you
What
could
you call it? What you call that? That's a broad walk kind of thing?
Yeah, boardwalk,
Yeah.
and that's almost done next at the end of February.
Mhm.
We're gonna open that whole strip with a grand event so people could really see it, because they're telling people about, oh, what did I do with your $10? And you got to show them.
Yeah, well, that's
So
what I'm
so
talking
with
about.
that thing now, Hakita's thing was good because that's the introduction to what
Okay,
happened with
so,
the VAT.
okay, so now you're
That's the
saying.
introduction to what happened with
So
the
you
VAT.
agreed with me that you needed some.
Now we
meat
got
on
to
that.
we got to show you what happened with the VAT.
Okay, so we got a rollout period
Oh
of showing
yes,
us
oh yes,
as
oh
to what
yes,
happened
oh yes,
substantively,
oh
because,
yes.
$800 million.
I can be calling on you to help me roll this out too,
No, but
because
listen.
you know what's important. So you have government and politics, and sometimes we get them a little mixed up, and you have style and substance. I mean that's what
Yeah.
you're speaking to.
Mhm.
Now, as we present for convention, you must realize we blend the style and substance in,
And you can
and
find.
and you can
Yeah,
find
I
based on
understand
time. Now, once you come out of convention, now you must
You gotta
now
put legs on this.
you must decompress that,
Mhm.
and you have to take everything there and put the government and politics and style and substance aside and explain to people what you're doing on their behalf. That is what we must do between now and the next general election, because we've done a lot, but we have to explain to you. This when people talk about transparency. They don't mean they looking in your pocket and they taking off your shoes and things. They mean they want you to take them through it.
Yes.
They're the shareholders of
Walk
the
us
company.
through, let us
And this
see
is this
what
is
you're
the
talking
annual
about.
shareholders meeting.
Right.
Don't come and doing 5-second
Well, that's
PowerPoint
well,
presentations.
You got me, you
I
got
you.
me, you got
But
me
now
right on
convention
point.
going to allow me doing 5-minute PowerPoint
Yes.
presentations, and then I gone.
Yeah.
Now, what I got to do next week, I come back, you say, Steve, now that of them 5 points,
Mhm.
let's drill a little deeper.
Yeah.
And,
No, I
and then
see that.
allow you to ask the questions. And also we have to tell people there are 1 or 2 areas I think we didn't do that well in that we could improve on.
Mhm.
Right? So sometimes fellas only want to talk about do good. No, we have some things we could
Yeah, fall down.
improve on.
Yeah.
And unless that's transparency too. These things didn't go as well as they could have. And this is what I think we could do. What do you think?
Right.
So going into election, you're really asking your shareholders, I ain't telling you what I think. I know what I'm thinking. I'm asking you what you think.
So listen to this, Daddy. That's correct what you're saying. I like that. That's real, and I can accept that. I'm a reasonable man. I can accept that. The general public listening in and watching on television, there are things that they're not going to accept just because of the fact that they want more now. This is a now world. So when you look at a situation where we are being threatened by the international operators of the OECD and FATCA and all those people in the financial services sector, you need to have a Hope Strong who is going to speak pointedly to that with the no-nonsense flair, with the facts of the matter, or even if it's only just 3 points, 3 major points. That was missing. To me, I'm listening to that. See, I need to know. I need to know that if they play this game with OECD and
what's your game plan? What's our game plan?
The game plan?
Yes.
Because you just can't say that ain't gonna happen. Don't worry about that. We ain't gonna lose that number 2 industry. I can sit on the street. I don't need her to tell me that. So that's what I'm saying. That's a fair criticism, and I like Hope Strong. Don't get me wrong. I like Hope Strong. She's a fantastic person. She means well. I think she's bringing a good study and good scholarship to what she's trying to do. But you need to see the actual financial services whiz kids, those who are in the mix and who always are in the mix. They need it a little bit more than that.
So see, the next thing I want to present over the next several weeks and months, we've gotten good politically in the Bahamas, and we get great political advice. To govern better, we need to now assemble all of our economic advisors and our business people and the entrepreneurs and the young dynamos. You say the whiz kids are the fellows who are on the cutting edge, because there are areas where we have competitive advantages.
Absolutely.
That we are not taking advantage of.
Absolutely.
So this is what the next big ideas have to come from. You're really going to now have to assemble these people. And I ain't talking about no political party then. See, I out of now the silent substance of PLP. I'm now into our national development plan that says, I don't care what you all say with Steve. Steve is one of the best broadcasters in the world, the best thinkers in this part of this region. And I need Steve to sit on this council because we're talking about technology and information. See, don't get mixed up with this. That's where we're going next. And that's when I say we can turn the magnet on. Because in a few weeks, really, we can be way past the competition. And when you get past, I want to ask people, what do you think? And we are going to begin the real push, the big ideas coming behind. When you got a university, man, this ain't no tick clock now. We're going with the thinkers. If you're really going to develop Andros, we're going with the thinkers. If you're really going to have the big ideas we have about being the #1 sports and entertainment tourism destination in the world, we're going with the best and the brightest we have.
I like the fact that Prime Minister Christie in his address last evening was able to give a synopsis on all the other things that are happening in the government. As the lead man, he gave a synopsis of some things, and he put some emphasis.
I'm Brian Christie as the Pat Riley now of politics.
I understand. Pat Riley was the version of.
I even got to say, all I say, I'm Brian him now as the Pat Riley of politics.
See, when this thing happened as well at the convention, that people were looking at, Christie made mention of the BAMSI situation that Alfred Gray talked about, and that was good that Alfred Gray tried to stand there and face the music on this BAMSI thing, because that's one of the areas that things fell down in, even though it's a fantastic idea and it's well supported by a lot of people.
We still got to go at it. We need to be able to feed ourselves.
So Christie said some things that, BAMSI will be the epitome of other universities coming here to the Bahamas and studying this whole thing in Andros to the point where it is a thesis. It's a piece that they need to know how we are doing certain things, and it's a focus for other. It's a magnet
of national development.
Yes,
that is going. If you build a university town, I went to McGill University. It's in the center of Montreal. Montreal is on an island, the same size as Nassau.
Yes.
The 3 universities on that island that made the island. Hello.
Yeah.
Bigger people, and look here. One thing ain't no one got no monopoly on. In good sense. Ain't no one out there smarter than a dude like you. Just because he from no. But we can take the advantage for ourselves. This is the next phase of Bahamianization. I won't say to these young Bahamian boys now say, they can't do it. No problem. We building a university town in Andros, brother. You go in on the ground floor. Yeah. And in this world of technology, if you now see being in a commonwealth means that you have a seat at the table. This is what Christie is now explaining to me down at Johnson. I get to spend a little more time with him. This is what a commonwealth, he says, is about. Means that everybody is enough for all of us. And he's going to make sure everybody gets a seat at the table.
Let me poke a little politics right there.
And in the world of technology, that's possible.
Let me just poke a little politics right there. A lot of what has been said we are now, at least let me speak for me. Listening to what is being said now, you get a better understanding of what is going on with some things in the big picture. See, there's a big picture that they were doing that was not being expressed because it was not articulated properly. Now you can
Maybe
see.
that's why you called me.
Now
I
you
understand it.
now you can see a big picture
It's
of what the
wonderful.
narrative is, what they're trying to do, and how
Yes,
they're
sir.
drawing this thing to another direction.
Yes, sir.
You don't get to hear enough of the things that the government wants to do because of the governmental process. But let's put a little politics in. You see, people have heard a lot of this before, but they didn't have it in context. For me, I have it in context now. Now, those who don't have it in context and have heard this before, they will politically say and be politically correct that Christie said that before, he's saying it again. I don't believe him. I can't see it because it's a political kind of focus on this, not a governance focus on the whole matter, if you get my drift. So what is happening here is that you'll have a lot of people who flippantly dismiss and say, we've heard that before. They can't get it done.
They have to say that. But I'm telling you now, just like you saw last night, people came out and demonstrated their support. Now, us as a government, in governance, we're going to demonstrate our conviction and commitment by doing it. So what do you say about Moores Island? I done got the National Sports Gathering in Moores Island will open up in the next couple of weeks. Done. What y'all said about what y'all want to do at the Sports Center, 90% of that is done. Baseball, done. Beach soccer, done. What are you doing in education? Done. University of Bahamas, done. So as people say that this is what, Christie must cast a vision. He's the vision caster. But I call him the Pat Riley. But he demonstrated last night. He got all-star players on our team. We got an all-star team, and they got a deep bench. And we could play. See me, the Daniel Markey Dumfries Johnson, the Baron of Cat Island, defender of faith. I could play.
Well, I ain't gonna argue with you on that.
All we need is a good coach. I can play, brother. I can play.
If you now got a good coach, if you compare it to the Pat Riley,
I can play.
you got a good coach.
All right.
You got a good coach.
We can play.
Now you need some other people who are going to do the strategy to make sure that you're playing the game by the rules and you're playing the game right.
Well, that's why I might be here talking with you.
Well, I don't know. All I'm saying is this.
I say that's why we talking to people like you.
Well, you have to talk with and engage everybody, Danny.
No, but I'm just saying you say that question. I say yes. That's why because I don't really come on too much show and talk with too much people. To be honest with you.
Well, I know.
Because I like to get things done.
Well, I thought that you came because you are my brother from another mother, and your father is my father, and I mean that. I'm not talking any biological stuff.
No.
But that I sat right there at the feet of OJ and loved the man and got all the clips from the man and understand the man and tried to understand him because he's a complicated man, but he was very simplistic in many regards too. That's what you do, and that's it. And you say, what you mean? Yeah, that's it right there. Now go with your business. Anyway, here's what some people are saying, Danny Johnson today. We're here with some hot coffee. Steve, if you want a party, hire the PLP is what this person says. If you want someone to get down to brass tacks and run the country, don't hire the PLP. They have proven themselves. So all this fanfare is just what it is, fanfare. Yeah. This is the person who looked in on the convention. Yeah. The person says, just because they employed great entertainment these past 3 days doesn't make them a good government, is what that person says. So you see, there are people who are looking at it saying, yeah, I see y'all. Yeah, I can't lie and say y'all didn't look good. Yeah, y'all didn't look hot. I'm ready. Yeah, you all got some F&Ms up there on the stage.
As I said, a convention is a beautiful blend. A beautiful blend, if you get it right, of style and substance at the same time. And I am just congratulating Shane Gibson, Obi Wilchcombe, Jerome, Joe, Nikki, all her team, Faith, everyone behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. This week and last night, we got it right. That's what it is. Now, what it means, then, you're showing people what you could do with governance. So you take that energy, you take that production, you take the presentation, and you apply it to national development, your big ideas. And I'm just saying on behalf of the PLP, an institution I grew up in and around, on behalf of people like Sir Lyndon Pinroy, grew up, he used to call me a special little project when I was a little boy, because I was bad. I had a temper like a raging bull, right? On behalf of them, I want them to know that the respect we had for their ideas, and although we were little boys running around making noise, we listened, and because of the respect that we had for the ideas of Carlton Elijah Francis, an intellectual leader, a man with 2 master's degrees in applied mathematics. Not an average man.
Not an average man.
The respect we have. I sat on Mother Cecilia lap listening to H.W. Brown many nights with my mother. Them I didn't know. I said, this man talking all night, talking so loud and so often. But I could tell you some of the things he used to say. I met Mahalia Jackson singing one night after Sudden Recreation Grounds with my mother and Roxy Roker. And I was like, well, this is an interesting woman. You got a man voice. and, you know what I mean? And now, 30, 40 years later, I'm like, hey, that was our civil rights movement.
Indeed.
We were rejected people. And these are the people who come and say, no. We are just as good as anybody else. And we're lifting our people up.
What do you take away from?
We get the message, and that message is still here. And what Christy is saying, Christy is wanting the young fellas in this party, wanting the young people in the country, you'll reconnect with this message here. Don't come off the old, what they call the ancient landmarks. There's a meaning to those ancient landmarks. It is worth looking at it again. He ain't saying look at him. He's saying he's the one who wants just remind them of, and he said it so many times last night, from whence we came.
Yeah.
We just remind them.
Yeah. Remind them. I understand that. Danny, when you look at some of the other things that I wanted to bring questions to you on today, and when we go back to the convention and we see what had happened early in the convention, the announcements that came out, the early part of the convention prior to everything happening in the room, the prep breakfast, that kind of thing, the 32,000 jobs summary.
Rebecca Powell and another young lady from Bethel Baptist Church delivered the message at prayer breakfast. The roof nearly fly off, boy. McFall. Yeah, Bethel McFall.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah,
she's good. Yeah.
A millennial, a young woman came and preached the Joshua sermon like I've never heard it before in my life. Yeah. And where's she from? See, that's the bridge, Steve.
She's from the seat of Bethel.
But that's the bridge.
Dr. Brown.
But that's the bridge.
Understood.
So it isn't, see, the bridge isn't, you get this, and then I take it, and then it's mine. That ain't the bridge. McFall ain't taking nothing from H.W. Brown.
It's a continuation.
It's always, the river is always flowing.
Understood.
McFall came there 50 years after Brown would have delivered his message, man. 50 years. Yeah. And Brown gave Pinlin Exodus, January 10th, him and Udall Rogers. And McFall comes around as a woman 50 years later and gave the Joshua sermon of the decade. I'm telling you, she put it down.
You can't say that was one later day.
No, I'm actually just thinking about it now. I'm thinking about it now. That McFall from Brown Church.
Yeah, she is.
And she got it. What?
Well, she expressed it.
That's
That's why I'm saying to you here, while that got things started, the whole thing is that Christie had talked about the creation of his 2,000 jobs, 32,000 jobs. A lot of people have been taking shots at that and doing some calculations, and there was all kind of things on Facebook where the jobs look, people looking at the table, looking behind the tree. And all that. They say, I see Danny, but I see no jobs over there, that kind of stuff. Looking on the National Stadium under the seats, I saw stuff like that they put up on Facebook. But the point is this, 32,000 jobs. Last night, Christie says, this is real because this has been had from statistical data.
We don't
that was done by the department.
It's sent to us from the department.
So he's saying that this is real. He says the actual figures, I think, is like 31,700 or
700
something.
But it rounds up to 30.
Yeah, he says that this is real. Say he's not lying about it. That's what he said.
See, and that part, Steve, is interesting because that's not the PLP that produces the figures. See, that's where government and politics is separate. There's an agency of the government that really has autonomy because they say some terrible things about us sometimes too. And when we can't say a word, they have full autonomy they do the research, and all they do is give you the report.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't know if how accurate their reports are, but they're an agency. We think they're the expert people at that agency. Okay, and so when they say, look, these are the figures on maternal and child health care. This is the amount of children born. That's the amount of people who die. This is the amount of people who we have people who fact check, and 99% of the time, those figures are accurate.
Yeah, the figures that Alcides gave and that Christie confirmed last night was 31,735 jobs.
Yeah.
Additional Bahamians have the dignity, they say, of drawing a paycheck and the independence of paying their own bills as a result of the work that had been done within the PLP. Now, as I was saying, there were many people who took exception to that and figured that these numbers were not correct. I'm not here to prove whether or not they're correct.
Okay, but can I explain?
But what I'm saying is that, you know, when you're talking about that, 32,000 jobs, a fellow texts me here this evening and he says, Mr. Christie said he created 32,000 jobs and he says, as a CPA accountant. I analyze it and he lost 52,000. So his net is minus 20,000 jobs.
Yeah, we don't have any data on that.
I don't have the data on that, but this is what this person said. I thought I'd read that text to give
I know,
you
but I
some.
can't address that in the public domain as a sitting minister of the government, responsibilities to all agencies of the state, because that's, I mean, I
I can appreciate what you're saying.
I'm not sure what that means. I wait to get the agency that does the figures, send us the figures. I can tell you what the agency says. Then now he could address that to the agency who does the figures,
Right.
but not to me. Now, what I want to show them, and they messed with me at the stadium, so I'm proud to defend myself. When I took over that stadium, number one, the bathroom wasn't working, the track was wrong, the field had to be changed, the lights had to come out, this, that, and the other. Great God from Zion. Not one event was held there in 1 year. We have done about 17 events in that facility, about 7 of which have now been profitable, Steve. That's the first part. So the jobs that statistics talks about that come through my ministry or my departments and agencies, they're not full-time jobs. So you might get, some of them fellows work 4 or 5 times a year for maybe a month or 6 weeks at a time. Now, I don't know why, and some people say, well, that ain't a real job, but let me tell you, the bulk of the jobs in this kind of country are construction.
Yes.
Now, you know fellows who work in construction.
Yes. Yes.
They working all the time?
Yes.
No, oh no, no, if you're a construction worker,
Yeah.
you think you're working all the time, you're working every day?
You're not working every day.
You don't work every day. You work when your controlling, when your boss look at we go in house and park up the things that come and pick you up in the morning. And they work. They ain't pay the NIB, they pay the bills, they get a gal a couple $100, they try to put something aside, and they work it.
They
But
give you
after-
$100.
Yeah.
Okay.
After, so when people talk about work, you know what I'm talking about. Work, these are working people. So after about 6 months, and now it's finished, the contractor Perry boy, try to give you a grant, so you hold on to that, you hold on to this, you hold on to that, you hold on to that. Why? Because being like, you might have another gig
For another
for
2 months.
2 months or so, or this and the other. So, but Christmas coming, we can grab a couple of spots that go and fellow, bill them on the ball and life and key.
Understood.
But that's a part of our economy.
Yes,
So
it
people, that must be real. You know, it's amazing to me. People who we grow up with our aunt and everybody working in the hotel industry. When I was growing up, my aunt, it was seasonal,
Yes, of course.
but she was a hotel worker. She only worked 8 months, 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
So how the hell people come up now, dying no job? And we just the jobs we grew up in.
Yeah, but I think when they talk about dying
That's a
of
job.
I think they're talking more about the
fellow in the stadium
the other
making
thing-
$300, $400, and $500 a week.
Yeah, but
Dying no job?
yeah,
That's a job.
Of course it's a job.
But so statistics takes that, and they find out that fella paying his NIV based on what he's receiving from his salary.
Yeah.
That money is going in
But
the
you just
thing.
said some key things.
That's a job.
NIV. You see, the whole thing about this whole thing with jobs, and I can appreciate what you're saying in your examples. At the same time, though, Danny, when you're looking at what people are talking about, they're saying they have counted these other jobs that are kind of fleeting, like this carnival job, this couple of weeks of junk canoe kind of thing. And I suppose blending those figures
Some of them fellas be jamming.
but blending those figures in with the overall aspect of what people consider to be employment, real employment, not temporary
okay, so
employment.
Steve, another part of
That is a part of what the question comes into
I
people's
understand.
mind about,
True.
how could you call these sustainable jobs?
I understand. True. My first wife now really works once a week. She throws down once a week, and that's her gig, and it basically sustains her. The festival culture that we haven't taken advantage of yet in the Bahamas, and we got to get to it somehow one day. The fellows who do the Trinidad setup, they do that once that year, and they ain't working no more,
Understood.
All right, the guys who do like we got World Cup of beach soccer coming here.
Mm.
The fellows who do in Italy who do the soccer matches, they only need they design that so you get one soccer match a year come to your town.
And
they jam
the revenue
when they
pulls
jam.
them for the full year.
What? When they jam off for that,
They got
they
the
can go on
population.
vacation and things.
Population.
So hold on, here working these fellas make $80,000 off for their event for whatever their concession is and the other. They frame that because that's their annual salary.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
They
that
frame
in
that,
context,
they
could
carry
that be
it.
compared to where we are with this small population?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So let me tell you
It's
why.
not sustainable.
Yes. Yes. So let me tell you why. World Relays alone,
Hmm.
which is now in the block after 3 events and they're coming back in 90 days. World Relays alone. The lady called me and says, Johnson, you know, last year, she was so polite, but I know she make more than tell me.
Hmm.
Last year for the 3 days when I was at the stadium, you know, that cleared me for the year.
It's a local vendor.
A local vendor.
Hmm.
She said, that cleared me. She said, I couldn't believe it. She said, you know, I paid my bills back and forward. And I didn't have, she might have done some money. She said, I had to do nothing till about Christmas.
Yeah. Well,
because Steve, hold on, this lady average for $20,000 a day.
All right.
A day for 3 days.
Hmm.
Now, these are the same people, you know, with their real salary. She used to work somewhere, I'm going to say where. She used to make $12,500 a year.
I understand that.
How you mean she ain't working? So she had that gig for World Relays. She make 4 times what she used to make working every day as a maid. She working.
I hate your point. I suppose
She happened to be working for herself.
I suppose.
And that's what I want my people to now get. The hell with what themselves they're talking about. Oh, 22,000 jobs, that's your business. I want Bahamians to realize the stuff we bring in for us, just like being a Commonwealth, we bring in this stuff for everybody. Everyone could own something. You can get something. And the money you make, you compare that to what you used to make working every night and every day as a security guard on maid. And you add it up to your annual salary. And I'm telling you the stuff I got on the table right now for the rest of the year. Any of them events, you could clear your entire salary.
We're talking with Daddy Johnson.
You're working. You're jamming. That's like it to do that.
Daddy Johnson, Oscar Boy is just talking, and we're going to run to a break. And when we come back, there's more to come because we have to look at what the people are saying. I want you to call me. I want you to get on the phones and call as well, so that you can ask your question of Danny Johnson. See, what is happening here is that the PLP is in position. They are in striking position. They are stable. You can see it. They've got the people with them. They've got some new people with them. Mm-hmm. What say you, the Bahamian public? Is this a walk in the park? It seems right now, with little competition, if any at all, that the PLP is going to have a walk in the park. I want to put that out there. I want to say that to you to provoke you today. How could you just sit there and you have nothing to say? My phone is not rung. And you know that what you saw last night is a threatening thing, and that ain't look too good for you as an opposition. Can you seriously tell me that you want us all to just sit back, relax, and enjoy the walk in the park? This is Hard Copy. We're back in a minute.
You're terrible. You're terrible.
Yeah, these guys.
You're terrible.
They don't understand.
They don't.
I didn't make up my mind who I voted for.
Go ahead. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. This is Hard Copy on a Friday, and this is the day after the big event this week, and the culmination of that event with Perry Gladstone Christie coming out the winner. The total amount of votes, in case you were keeping score and keeping count, was something like 1,240 something. Let me see what my notes is. But of course, Alfred says he got 169. Christie got 1,264 of those votes cast. And yes, he is still the undisputed leader, I call him now, of the PLP. And, every time Christie comes out there in his corner, you looked at, they played all the music of Rocky
Man.
Right?
Rocky,
they did that kind of stuff.
Boy, they
did that. They were like,
shout out to DJ Pencil.
Like they were likening this thing to a big boxing match, and the undisputed winner it would be Perry Gladstone Christie in this particular regard. Alfred says gained 169 votes. I believe he knew too that was a far cry from what the expectation may have been, and his exuberance to become the leader of the party. He had a lot of good points, fantastic rollout of his presentation of all the things that he were looking to do. And, I suppose he says that he's still going to incorporate most of what he's planning within the confines of the PLP, because he's not leaving the party. He is not disgruntled to the point where he's all bent out of shape about it. Alfred says is obviously a gentleman and a classy fellow. So that is what has happened as far as those elections are concerned. And so now that part is behind the PLP, and that's one of the things. See, when you make that comparison with what has happened in that particular convention, the opposition forces need to take note of that, because the public, the Bahamian public, will talk about this in comparison and say, they did this and look what y'all did and look where you are right now because of all this bitterness that ensued, that took place. And says, and Christie obviously setting an example that they're not going to go down that road. They've seen the destruction that road can cause. And that is why today the game is not as clear as it should have been for the Free National Movement. I have to say that, because right now, even though I believe Minnis and those have gotten beyond the Loretta Turner situation and the other seven, the fact is that people still perceive that to be trouble in the camp. And when you compare that with a group of people who seem to be solidified, solid as a rock, of going to the new frontier, that kind of stepping now, that is a serious thing to contemplate and say, well, I still going that way. No, people are who they are. And Danny was telling me off here a short time ago about Malcolm's Gladwell's the Tipping Point, a book that talks about things like this that can happen in the human element, when a man can make up his mind one way or the other that can just blow the whole scene or take him, parachute him up to the top.
Correct.
And these are the things that we have to look at when you're talking politics. And so as an analyst, when we look at this, we have to be fair and honest about it. The PLP did look good. They did have their people. They did do their thing. And they are, in fact, looking forward to the election. That's called, in one word, momentum. And momentum is a serious thing if you got people with you in that. And if you got money, boy, that's a double serious thing when you're talking about that kind of thing. So it's not an easy thing to just say, we can just flip that to the back. That ain't no big deal. You just wait. No, it has to happen now, simultaneously with the moves of those who are out front, hit Hall and Dale. You can't let them get on the site. Don't let their tail lights get on the site, because if that happens, deal you.
Steve, in the 400-meter race, there's always a notion, people say, when you could go out slow and a faster person could catch you on the second bend.
Mm-hmm.
That has never been done in human history.
Mm-hmm.
That race is so grueling. It is so fast. It is so brutal on the human body that if a person who is as fast as you, I ain't saying they're better than you now.
Mm-hmm.
I say if the fellas as fast as you. So I'm assuming we are as good as our opponents, as fast as you, and they get out when 10, 20 meters ahead of you.
You're catching them.
You finish. And I tell you one thing, the pace we can put on, in the next several months, unless you use a horse or a plane, I ain't gonna say it.
Hauling tail. Hauling tail. Some people say something else, hauling, you know what? This is where we are. So let's look at some other things. We are analyzing, taking a look and wrapping up this whole week of activity that happened with the PLP. And my exuberance to be fair and honest about the whole matter. I like to pride myself that I'm an equal opportunity provider. I give everybody a fair chance, and I give you a fair chance when you take a look at what is happening here. Now, PJ Knowledge, when I talked to Danny Johnson about some things that needed to be said in content and in context, some of that fell to Bernard Knowledge in his presentation, but he did say some things that were impressive. For instance, he talked about something that would make one stop in their tracks. He says, listen, fellas, you're all criminals. He says, do you know that when we passed that gangster bill just the other day, that you can get a fine of $500,000, $500,000. He says,
or 20 years in jail.
He said, and 20, I wrote it down, and 20 years in jail if you're found to be this. That's a serious thing. I mean, let's look at the average little fella around there in these gangs and stuff. And let's look at the big boys who may be in gangs and that kind of stuff. $500,000 ain't no little bit of money, and 20 years in jail, in prison, because of this affiliation. He says, and he means it. He says that, I mean that. He says, don't look to nobody trying to get help to get out of that, because you're in and you're going to spend the time. Now, we had a tough talk before too, but not like that. So I give him a little credit on that one. I think people needed to hear that because of all the violence that's happening. Yeah, all of us, even gangsters are tired of that kind of stuff. Everybody is tired of it. And so I think,
I can see if I could, I'm a young person, and when I was younger, I was involved in all kind of things. Gangs are about groups of people who really have territorial boundaries.
Yes.
Is that these territorial boundaries? All animals have territories. I grew up in Paul Track, came from the Fort Fincastle area, and we used to play basketball in Chippenham. So us and Chippenham, you could go from Chippenham to Paul Track and back.
Right.
But when you cross Boyd Sub and you reach Nassau Street, that was a different group of fellas. And we had the understanding that unless something went wrong, we ain't gonna come over there, see none of your gals, drink none of your rum, yada, 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 unless there was a problem. This is how this thing evolves. Some of the jungle groups come out of those scenarios. This is a normal human condition that young men go through. So for some, it's a rite of passage, et cetera, et cetera. What we have put into this now is some external influences of thug life, weaponry that is, unlike what we have ever seen in our lives, and then the notion of retaliation that is endless. At some point, we have to take the monkey wrench and stick it in the wheel, and a couple of spokes can break, but we have to stick it in the wheel. And I think what Knowledge is pointing to now is that, okay, fellas, you cross the line, and we have to stick this wrench in this wheel. But this tire and this bike, this can stop.
One way or the other.
It can stop.
It can tumble.
It can tumble.
But listen to this. He says here, and this is something that I wrote down. It's a little caveat. I believe that this is something that people ought to take note of. He says $20 million given by the IDB, a 4-year program on citizen security and justice program. That's key, because that involves a lot of young people from about 18, I think he said about 16 to 25, and there are 2,600 of them at this particular time that are doing things
already in it,
right?
Yes,
so that's a good thing, because it means that it's a safety net.
My Ministry of Youth is also involved in that. Darren Turnquist, my very dynamic, very hardworking Director of Youth, is in that, and they have the picture. I think they got it right. It's a schedule. It's a scheme that has worked before. The people who are in it are finding the results. Of course, Jerome Fitzgerald and PM last night, Christie pointed to once again the fact that he was a young man who got into trouble, got thrown out of school. Maybe he could
Got a
have
second
fallen,
chance.
maybe could have fallen through the cracks. And the redemptive power of the second chance would save his life. And look what he became.
Yeah.
So his thing is, look at him, every person in his cabinet, you all ain't throwing people away. I hope you're giving them every opportunity we can. So it isn't like we just come in to rough you up. This is a notice, this is a thing to say, like, let's see if we could do this again, and let's see if we could stop and maybe go in another direction.
Yeah.
But it can be tough love.
Understood. So BJ had some highlights in the crime activity. This is in addition to the things that the government continues to do to shore up and buttress the performance of the Royal Bahamas Police Force, and so that is something that we understand, and there more has to happen in that particular regard.
And Steve, and the defense force, so in now coming years as we go towards Vision 2020, as we can look at, election season come on stuff, I think tell people this is economics I won't be talking about. See, crime make you poor and keep you poor. When we talk about what we spent $200 and something million on new defense force vessels. Okay, $236 million. Those vessels have successfully interdicted and prevented the poachers in the Southern Bahamas. What that mean? What it mean? It mean the fellas from Andros, Eleuthera, Cat Island, Exuma, North Abaco, they tell us, the fishermen, the crawfishermen, tell us this year has been their best
record season.
year
They told
on
me.
record.
They told
It's
me.
a record season.
They
Why?
told
Because when you get down there, the fellas ain't gonna take your part.
Yeah, and they had a good season this time around.
They ain't getting robbed.
And
Because
then-
really, you know that is the fella robbing you.
Yes, of
He
course.
robbing you in the sea.
Then there was also Clay, who reported from Spanish Wells that the mortgages, that the people didn't lose their homes. I remember having them on this show for about 2 years solid. They were telling me, Steve, our houses are being foreclosed upon,
Yes.
this and that. And so when I
You
heard
go
Clay
spend
come,
$500,000, get the boat, this, that, and that, go out there.
Talk
You
about
don't drop your pot, now you go pick up your pot. The
That's-
pot gone.
what's his name? Clay Sweeting, right?
Speaking, yeah.
Yeah, he said he reported, and he's got that
Young
direct from down there.
candidate for
Yeah.
North Lutheran.
So he's running down there for North Louis.
Yeah, and he ran before, and he can do it. He'll go this time, and I think he will win.
Yeah, so when he reported that the houses were not being foreclosed
No.
on anymore because the people were able to pay their bills because they got some things happening in
No.
the fishing industry.
Right.
And let me tell you, I have great friends in Spanish Wells. Let me tell you, they're not shy. They will call and cuss right now if they had to because they don't play. That's just the way they are. They know how to exercise their right. And I had shows with them that where they were calling me and telling me this the deal, that, and they lobbied it. They made it happen on the telephone.
So that's what national security has been doing, right? Now, national security, then, what Pinlindos did, they created the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. That was our border protection. That's how we can protect our borders. Now, Christy said, yeah, but $236 million, 9 new vessels. You all make sure we handle the seabed. What that mean? Economically, brother, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars to fishermen in the Bahamas from our natural resources.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people you got to protect your things before you act like you're promoting it.
Yeah.
And you ain't sure what it belong to. That's what I want to drive this campaign to is the economy, stupid, the economy.
You know,
And all us can't be broke sitting together talking fool.
that's a state of disaster.
Hello.
You know, the thing about it is that BJ Knowledge talked about the things that had happened on the seas this time around with the Defense Force craft. And so it was a good $236 million, if only for that one point where they were able to capture that 100,000 pounds, is it?
Right.
Of lobster and fish and all that. That was a mother load.
Exactly. So for those who like to follow the money, so you spend that, look what you're making back.
Yeah.
See, you can make that money back in but 2 years. Okay, I'm going to spend some money on the new stadium. Man, we done $730,000 in the block. Now $1 billion when stadium down by the bridge. We got a tree event, now we done pay for that. It's the economy. But you have to do these new things, new ideas, new energy to get the economy going. And the reason why people are not seeing it, because we've done the investment, the financial fellows have stopped the bleeding, the spending, and all that stuff. They cut me. Wait, look, I can't even buy gas now. They can cut all that out. Because we're now saying, like, we got to put money into where we could make money.
So, one of the other things that's quite interesting here as we get ready to take some phone calls and run to the break is this whole bit about what Mitchell had to say. I want to touch on that today because that's important as well.
Yes.
And you can call us to friends at 325-023506, 325-024243, 325-0252 or 53. And listen, I want to hear from you because you sound silent out there on me. You mean the PLP was really that good that they stoked you to the point where you can't believe it? You're still trying to wonder what has happened? And I mean to tell you that because really the truth is you should be telling me what you didn't see or what you hope for or the fact that you may have even been convinced that that's the place where you need to go, like some other F&Ms were convinced.
I saw a lot of people
That's the turning question that they were convinced.
Who say they're convinced, they're sure, they're absolutely sure that Christie's leadership at this point in our history is the right thing to do. Christie has a tremendous command of so many aspects of what the Bahamas means and how it works, and what is now, I say, he can now cast that vision that is going to drive you into that 21st century positioning on big ideas. And the big ideas mean we can become, in the 21st century, my dream for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas is we become a real Commonwealth.
Yeah.
There ain't no one left out.
We're talking with Danny Johnson today. He's a substantive minister of Youth, Sports, and Culture. And
One of them things. I do what I'm told, man.
And he's also been the campaign manager for this one with Christie and them around the table in this particular convention. And it was not a bad convention. In fact, it was very, very impressive for many who understand the game of politics. They were able to pull out all the right stuff. I don't know all it took to get it done, but they did show on TV. They did show in the actual room and the ambience that they got things going on.
See, I don't know if you got outside the hall.
No, I saw it. I couldn't get outside on any night.
It was more
time to leave
outside than inside. Last night, I put the big screens up on the outside, on the outer wall, and there are people all the way on the grass going towards Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
And they had a ball.
Here's what this person says, and I'm getting to the phone calls in a minute. This person says, if this election is about money, let the PLP have it. They squander the best. Give it to them. Another one says, good speakers don't put food on the table. Deep in your heart of hearts, is the PLP, Danny Johnson, really satisfied with their accomplishments? We, the youth, cry shame on them, and we want to know that this person said, we, the youth, but this is what he's saying. He says, in your heart of hearts, Danny Johnson, is the PLP really satisfied with their accomplishments?
I tell a person, talk to my youth director, the great Darren Turnquest, who comes from an F&M family. When I took over the ministry, they tell me to fire him because he's the F&M. My old man and his old man used to drink together. They used to have a ball together. They are men of valor and they understand and love this country more than these people could know. I said, no, I'm not firing Darren. He's one of the best youth directors you'll ever see in this country. I kept him. So I wouldn't speak on his portfolio, his behalf. Talk to Darren Turnquest, who people used to say, well, don't think nothing about the PLP. Talk with him, let him tell you what you think.
Yeah. Another person says, well, let me just go to the phone lines and then I'll take a look at these and tell you what these people are saying on the text line. Hi, Copy, how you on today?
Well, Steve, I think the minister needs to be judged for his portfolio. And, I think he's done a great job. He's really brought the Bahamas to the forefront in the Caribbean when it comes to sporting events. You're looking at from the Popeyes Bowl to the track and field events. Now the beach soccer. I think he's done a great job on these golf tournaments. So I think he really needs to be commended for steering the Bahamas into more sports tourism. I would like to see the minister initiate a serious boxing program in the schools. Get gentlemen like Misha Major, Ray Miners involved and have boxing teams in the schools and help these young men learn discipline, conflict resolution in the gym. And now those rivals can become respected competitors rather than trying to take each other out. They would respect each other in the field of combat as far as organized sports. And I think it'll do a lot of good for our young men in the school system. I also would like to see the minister embark on a program where there are sports academies identified where young people with particular skill sets that outperform children in their age group can be noticed at an early age and receive expert coaching and develop those skills so that they can now turn to sports to get education as well as to create careers for the future. And now we can tap into those scouts and all those people that can come by and look at the talent pool that we have here in the Bahamas. But overall, I think the minister has done a great job.
I appreciate your call. Thank you much.
And thank you very much, sir. That's very kind of you. I'm carrying out the mandate that you all told me to do, and I've given it my absolute best. That's all I can say to people. Steve, today we did the ball presentation for FIFA World Cup of Beach Soccer out there on the beach.
Mhm.
We're building the most modern and amazing beach soccer stadium in the world here on Nassau, the base of the iconic Sydney Poitier Bridge.
Mhm.
On the end of February, you will see the first match in that arena. Team Bahamas has been featured on the 5 continents of the world for the past 6 months. We have beaten the United States of America, and we now invite everybody to this town. Now, I noticed it, and I told Minister Wilshcombe, who he and I speak from the same spot. I told him, I said, you know what we've really done here? As I looked at the whole picture, we created another industry.
Yes, you have.
Sports is an industry unto itself. It is as big as any other industry in the world. And when people see, because we have a framework now of every month, we have a mega event planned for this year. Not a little thing, mega event that needs advertising, this, that, logistics, transportation, housing, food, planning, They have 12 tiers of companies that have to engage to have one of these events. We're looking at a group to come and do that, the Reebok CrossFit thing. There are 5,000 people that have to come together to put on that event.
How does that translate in empowerment of the Bahamian people? You talked about empowerment and all that at the convention. You
Okay, so
talked
this is
about
where it
people
is.
wanting to
And
move forward.
Brilliant question, because so we're having the Commonwealth Youth Games come to Bahamas. 71 countries of the Commonwealth will come to the Bahamas this July. When that happens, the young people of the world will be focused on what's happening in the Bahamas. When that happens, the youth of the country, young people in this country, will be exposed to everything that's happening around the world. So we don't have Bahamianization, globalization. When that happens, they'll see that the world has an economic platform that you could compete on, just like you do in sports. You could compete on this platform. You could engage. When that happens, we can have 21 days of economic activity. If you sell in pencil with World Relays or FIFA or something on it, in Brazil, for World Cup, I was down there. Fellas did the coconut with his cut. You know, because I drink coconut water almost every day. Fellas just cut the bottom off, boom, juke it, drain the water out, toss it. They take that coconut with the thing cut off, let it dry out, and they paint the hexagons of the soccer ball on it.
Mhm.
They ask you, what's your name? Oh, Steve. Fellow put Steve on it, a nice design. Where are you from? Bahamas. Put that and do a flag. And bam, give you a coconut painted like a soccer ball, but he doesn't get the FIFA World Cup or soccer World Cup on it. Give you that, $10. When dude have his coconut pile up throw away, when the fella had one pile of coconut like that, Steve, selling them for $10, and I tell you, this dude is making $100 a flicking minute, Massey. Hello?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the stuff is
innovation.
throwing away.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, when FIFA comes to town, you can have 5,000 people here. Ding, ding. Ding,
Cash
ding.
register ring. Hi,
Ding,
Coffee.
ding.
How you doing today?
Good afternoon, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Minister.
Afternoon, sir.
You know, first of all, there's a little joke for you, Mr. Minister. I think you need to get your ministry together to help the Saxons to learn how to win again.
I'm not allowed to do that.
Because you're going to
If I
get
could, I would.
celebrated the jump bump starters. And you're going to end up in the E category.
Yeehaw, boy.
Oh, Calvin,
You're
no,
talking hard, you're
what
talking hard.
happened? Y'all moved from and basis visitor. Y'all got a different area or y'all live in the valley?
Look, we were trying to give other people a chance to win.
You wasn't giving no rally down the track of you. Always beat you. But
ice cream from Bloomington.
He's telling you that
But
there's some
anyway, I'd
strategy
like
in
to
that.
congratulate you on what you've been doing with sports and this and that, the next
Look at
nice
Sparky,
move. You know, when I come over Blue Hill Heights, the first thing I can see is the big tall doggone crane in the air.
Hello. Boy, she coming, man. She coming.
Coming, I can see the crane in the air, so I know the crane, there's something coming out the ground.
On time and under budget.
Yeah, but,
On time,
you
under budget.
know. But you know, on a more serious note, I've been sitting back. There's a few friends of mine. You know, I'm a Bahamian, 65. I've been voting from I was 18, going through all the different parties and all the different elections and all three of the different prime ministers. And I've never been a card-carrying, so to speak, member of any party. But you know, I grew up in the valley, so you know what that means. And I've been for all them years.
Yeah.
But you know, there are friends of mine I have on both sides. And there's some people that have been asking me to join the FNM. But my problem is I never joined no party. But since last night, Mr. Minister, I've asked two members, two very, very good old friends of mine, and your father as well, Steve, know them too, very good, God on names. I've been asking them since the convention, I've been asking them if the FNM is running in the next general election.
And well, what direction they run? They may be running
And I asked them, and
not towards.
they say, but my party only put on a good show. They want no better rock, but he goes, I say, but didn't I tell you I'm not a member of no party? I'm a Bahamian citizen with a right to have a decision and vote. That is my constitutional right. I don't have to be a member of a party. No party's never given me nothing since I've been on this like 65 years.
But the party
But
belongs
the
to the
thing is,
Browns.
I would like to know if anybody can tell me if the FNM is running in the next general election. Do they have to register or something? Because I don't hear from them. I don't hear from their leader. I don't know what they're doing. The only thing I hear from them is they're rowing.
Is there what?
Rowing.
They're rowing.
Okay. Well, I don't hear from them either, and I think that we need to hear more from them. Maybe in the upcoming days we'll hear from them a whole lot.
See, the Prime Minister Steve doesn't have to come on talk shows.
No.
He doesn't have to. He's busy
Yeah.
trying to run the country. That's what I think his job is. But at this time, and what our country is going through, I really think the leader of the opposition should be on talk shows, should be on TV, should be on CNN if he can get on there.
Oh, that's right.
But then I asked the other parties as to, I see nobody come in my area yet. And we got a couple of months to go. Nobody from any department, hello,
I'm listening.
Yeah.
nobody other than the MP from my area, the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Mr. Baker, has been to my house. I asked the others, where are you? They tell me where they meet. And Jesus said, go ye into the highways and the byways. These people are telling me where they meet, like I must come to where they are.
You gotta come to them.
Anyway, Spark, I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're saying, and then you brought up some very, very good points, very provocative and very timely, because, as I said earlier tonight, Danny, people are going to make that comparison. When you got a group that's, you don't hear from them, or they're not, the perception is that they're not as stable as they should be, and you don't hear from them, they seem to be MIA. I told Dr. Dwayne Sands, he was here the other day, I said, boy, you've been missing in action for a long time, now you're surface, and I psyched for him. They come in by boat, they come in by plane, they come in wheelchair, they walk in with cane. right?
Everybody was there.
Because of the fact that people need, there's something called presence. You know presence. You gotta have presence. You've got to be around. If you're not around, people forget you. You know, out of sight, out of mind. These are the kinds of things what are just elementary, just logical approaches to certain things, and yet there's failure in that particular area.
But you know, Steve, what Sparky is talking about is last night Christie demonstrated, see, the talk over now, right? Christie demonstrated his idea of Team Bahamas. He demonstrated that he has the best team in the country. He demonstrated that he is capable of bringing people together as opposed to splitting people apart. He demonstrated that he is the kind of person that can lead in that regard. He demonstrated what his team is capable of doing. He wasn't talking about himself, he's demonstrating what his team could do. That's why I looked at him last night, I said, go back to Riley. Decorate down, got his, you know, he got his style man going, clean, sharp, and all he doing is calling plays.
Yeah.
And all I telling people out there, we have people who could play.
Anyway,
Now, if don't come on the court if you won't play, because now it's on. Yeah, I mean it's on.
this person says this to me tonight as I go to the, well, let me get this phone call first and I'll read this text. Hi, Copy, how are you?
Hi, good afternoon. Sam Thompson here from Bahamas Cricket Association.
Sir?
I just want to comment on the wonderful things that they're doing in sports. However, we just want to remind the minister that don't forget about us. We see the nice stuff being done at the foot of the bridge, like you suggested, and we are looking at it, and it's pretty good. What we want to suggest is, if we play with numbers, let's say 1 million people play sand soccer or sand football, we're going to suggest that 1 billion people play cricket. And if you do the numbers, 10% of a billion versus 10% of a million, we have more numbers. So what we want to do, we want to push cricket, local cricket and international cricket in the Bahamas also. We know in the past we invited him out to 2 tournaments last year. He came out and he supported it. But since the hurricane, we got plenty damage to the grounds and the areas, and we've been trying to upgrade our standards and try to establish the fields and everything like that. And being, without successful intervention by the government, I would like to know what is the minister doing for the national sport, and how can we improve it and sell it as part of the package of sports tourism also?
Good question. I'll let him answer it. Thanks for your call, yeah?
All right.
And what I try to do is, although people are directing stuff to me, I'm in the business of we. So I want the cricketers and all the federations to know that we're increasing grants this year to each federation. It is obvious the investment that we have done for sporting bodies in the country. I mean, that record is clear. We're demonstrating now. I don't have to talk about it. So he knows they had their cricket events. I was there. I know the potential of cricket in the Caribbean. I got a lot of great friends, even in South Florida, who have cricket associations. I did a grant for something for the cricket group. We are doing some subvention for them. I do think we could do something incredible with the whole cricket ground, Clifford Park, Fort Charlotte area as a master plan. And so I've asked the master planners, we have to look at that for me, really looking at that like a central park along with parks.
Ken Dorset was
something
talking
that Ken
to
and
me
Dorset is
last
doing.
night.
We can blend that together. You put the sports piece in the beautiful park piece, and you really get something special.
You know,
And
Ken
so the cricket people can look
Ken
forward to
Dorset
that.
was suggesting something similar, you
Yeah.
know, that whole area, because of the historic value
Yes.
and where it is,
Yeah.
that all kinds of nice shopping centers with the kind of incorporation into all these, the cricket
Yeah.
pavilion and all that.
the whole thing
can
blends
really
into
work.
one. And so
You
just so
should
he knows, the planners are
Yeah.
doing that now, and so the Cricket
pursue
Association
that.
is a part of that. So their facility
Hmm.
will see an upgrade that is just world class.
Pursue that.
And so what I want to tell people, Steve, Christie's charge to us is facilities, academy, management, and in areas that Bahamians own. That's where we're going. Facilities, academy, meaning the highest quality that you can find. We partner with the best in the world, and then management, but we want you to manage something you own.
Understood. A couple of text messages before we go to the break, and we got one more break to take before we end the day. This person says, Steve, the PLP delegates and stalwarts missed a golden opportunity to realign the PLP party to the plan that the original PLP founders wanted. Instead, they voted to go into the desert wilderness with Christie for another 40 years. That's how I see it, is what this person says. All they want is to keep riding that gravy train. On another note, Dr. Danny Johnson has done a good job in his ministry. Same person, says, on another note, Dr. Danny Johnson has done a good job in his ministry, but he has to become a better listener to other people's opinions and ideas, is what this person says, as, he's telling you what his thoughts are. Another one says, good evening, Steve. I asked Dr. Johnson, why no support for Chris Brown invitationals?
No, hold on now. But Chris Brown and me and Chris are best friends. Don't fool with that one. People say that from time to time. They got to catch this up. My ministry has put almost $1 million behind Chris Brown. Don't talk fool. We did 2 massive invitationals. I got one here. Chris Brown Invitational. The events we do at the same time each year, so it's 1 year on and 1 year off. So in Olympic years, obviously, I mean, Chris then got other stuff to do, and then on a World Relay year, it's the same month. So you'll see Chris Brown again next year. But we are Chris and I, that me and him work on that personally.
I understand. Here's something that somebody has said, talked about from the convention this week, and it was 3 days of convention at the Malia, and this was the first time in 7 years that they had a convention of that significance. And of course, a lot of people are believing that the PLP said something, that they have showed and displayed something, and they are watching that with great interest. But this person says, please note that the PLP are the masters of alternative facts and illusions. they need to stop grandstanding and deal with the suffering of the Bahamian people, this person says. Missing funds from various government ministries, long lines at the soup kitchens, D national average, D for a national average, or D minus for the national school average. Violent criminals out on bail and high taxes, cost of living, and it says electricity blackouts. The PLP don't impress me, says this person, with their colorful lights and insincere speeches.
And you know, he raises a good point. There are, as I said earlier, Steve, I'm not here with blinders on. There are areas where we have to make improvements. Yeah, I would be the first to tell you that. You know, but this party is founded of the masses. The whole idea of our core values was to lift people out of poverty and despair. We have done that. We have to do more. We got plans to do more. But the big ideas that we're driving towards will carry more people in the right direction. The middle class in this country is a product of those ideas and those forefathers who made that push. This is what we're about. I'm saying we're back at it again. The bridge is complete, to be honest with you. I'll tell you, I think I saw last night, 20 years ago in that room, when PM Christie would have said, we made that speech, and 20 years later, what he said last night, the bridge, he's actually done it. He has actually done it. And I saw young people in that room who get it, who have learned from what has transpired, and who can carry on.
You think that the young people in that room, MPs included, ministers, youthful ministers included, do you think that they've been so ignited, so electrified by the whole thing, and that they see themselves as individuals who will be able to get more opportunities to do more and to bring the people with them?
Yes, that's the purpose of the Pat Riley speech before you run out onto the court. He's telling you how great a team he has built. He's telling you what he had, because he has been a coach for so long, what he has seen in championship games. He's telling you in the fourth quarter, you have the fitness, the stamina, the courage, the tenacity to make that shot. He's telling you that there are people out there pulling for you. You know, last night I got home and I look up to the stars and walk in the house. I say, boy, OJ and Sylph, I did that for you all. This is really for you all. This is a part of the dream of our forefathers. But a part too that Christie gets is that they want us to be one people. That's why in my thing about Team Bahamas, we have one goal as a people. Our common loftier goal. The great Madiba Mandela came to the Bahamas and told Penn, he said, you all have a chance, like no other black nation, to be the great society. The great society, said, a society that knows itself, orders itself, controls itself, improves itself. Says, but you got to do one thing that we did not do in Africa. Says, Africa has one problem. She lets someone else tell her story. Said, you all must tell your story. You must be the masters of your story. And that's why them all do is pour the story on me, Steve. And you can't tell me nothing about our story. I know the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And I'm playing with it. This is our story. This is a land that we have inherited through blood and tears. I mean, now you can get scared? Scared of what?
We're going to run to the break. Let's pay some bills. This is the final break we're taking. And when we come back here on Hot Copy tonight, we'll just let Daddy wrap it up. The Minister of Youth, Sports, and Culture, the campaign manager. And that doesn't just stop there for that convention, I believe. I believe that's going to be going a long way.
Nothing on me, I can't handle it.
I want to make sure he gets stuck with this.
Damn, they stuck.
We are back in just a minute on Hard Copy after these words.
When Minky asked me, I said, Minky, I don't put Bill in no stage and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I got no t-shirt, I'm doing that.
Minky look at her, she look like the high-tech say, what did me since 5 o'clock this evening, and certainly we've been looking at a number of things, looking at and recapping that convention. Lots of things to talk about. I suppose over the next few days we'll be talking about it, especially on Sunday when we do the analytical view as to what took place at that convention. There's still a lot of people who still have a difficulty with what has been happening. Somebody texts me here, says that in 2015, the Department of Statistics said the government created 8,200 jobs between 2012 and 2015. Still unbelievably puts in bracket. So when did the government create another 23,800 in 2016 to come to the figure of 32,000 jobs since 2012 is what this person is saying. And like I tell you, that's going to be the topic of conversation for a little while.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I think we have to get someone from that agency to speak about it. You know, people were talking about the economy and how it's functioning and whether the dollar will be devalued and this and the other. And, you know, our financial literacy is not where it could be. And so the governor of the central bank went on a few times and explained to people, you know, how the dynamics of our economy works.
Right.
And that you're really living in a fairly stable environment here. And it is capable of withstanding some shock, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And showing, you know, all the pillars of it, and it is functioning. You know, you saw it today. The new president, Donald Trump, removed many of these funny banking regulation things that has been nagging against us. These multiple, you know, you go to open an account, they take one of your journal, man. You know, and so, you know, so Trump is like, no, that don't make sense. Just let the people do the business, man. And so there are things like that the government, central bank, and those have a handle on, and we have to be able to explain that to each other. And so I think with this job scenario, first thing gotta happen, that's for the Department of Statistics to explain. The second thing needs to happen, we do have to create more jobs. Bahama is going to open after many, many years and trials and tribulations. They have begun their process, hiring process. On every island in the Bahamas, major island, there are major developments going on. They're hiring people. Look at what's happening in Bimini, Grand Bahama with Carnival Cruise Line is going to see a phenomenal boost. Abaco is really going towards full employment. Andros, as I said earlier, looking at building a university city. I'm going down there in the morning to talk with some of the fellas down there. What you're seeing in Exuma is seeing another resurgence. All the Exumians are going back to Exuma. Cat Island is looking at a major development. You know, so this is what's happening in the country, and it has to be an economic conversation now. So not just a job. It is, how is our economy going to function? So our Commonwealth lives up to its name. So I don't want people going to bed hungry. I don't want fellas having, I got a friend of mine who told me just last night, he said, you know, a guy who works with him got arrested. He's like, why? This is a good fella. Fellow stole some food because he didn't eat for 2 days, right? In a Commonwealth, I don't want to hear that. That's where we're going. When I say economy, I don't mean the fancy stuff you see on TV. I mean, everybody gonna have something. And so we're gonna create an environment where that is possible. And, you know, so Vision 2020 in the next couple of months, you can hear it roll out. It's immediate. I have talked about 2015, thinking in a year or two, we gotta be able to do this stuff. It's gotta be big ideas.
One of the things that the PLP did not say and captured, perhaps they believe that they don't need to say it. Maybe they think that it doesn't rest in the recessions of a lot of people's minds. But there has to be a declaration, Dr. Danny Johnson, I put to you, of the PLP declaring, without and beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this is not a party that will be victimizing anybody for any reason.
Right.
Whether they are in business or private sector, or whether they are in government, whether they are big or whether they are small.
Absolutely.
I think the nation needs to hear a cleansing of a new beginning of these kinds of things being considered a thing of the past, if in fact they ever did so. The point is, it needs in my, because I know around the corner by the water cooler through the back door that I know what I'm hearing. And I'm hearing that this is what people have a trust issue on. If I go against, if I say something, if I do like this, I may could be smitten. Bam! And I think, and this is why they're black. I think people want to have some kind of reassurance. Now, I know it's not something typically a politician would think because they say, well, we don't victimize. But see, think for a second.
Yeah.
You may not be victimizing, but some people may feel that way.
Yeah.
So how about a declaration that speaks to that? And one of the things that in that declaration, obviously, you've had people who've moved over from one side to another side, which is a complete shift. But if they feel comfortable to do that, that may inspire some others to do so, but there's still some hang-ups that some may have because the whole thing is, yeah, but will I be as successful as them and going that way? Because what if they spite me?
Yeah.
You see, that's how politicians they got to think,
Yeah.
You got to think what people thinking. And a lot of people are not thinking what people thinking. For instance, in Minister No's case, they got to think, well, we need to be on them more because these people may be thinking. And see, Sparky come right here today and say what he was thinking.
Exactly.
And so that goes a long way, my friend. And that's all my point is on that. I'm not trying to upstage anybody, not at all, because I love Menace and all of those, and I think that they mean well. They just got to get it together. And if they don't get it together, hey, bushcrack, man, gone, and plus, don't forget them taillights. Them fellas may be falling right out the way, and you can't catch them no more. Danny Johnson, I want to thank you very much for coming by today and being a part of us. We've got to talk more often. We said it last time.
Yes.
So we have to talk more often, and then we get designated Thursdays, and I don't know, you probably get too busy building stadiums and stuff, I don't know.
I've been busy, but that's Bo was supposed to be coordinating.
Yeah, Bo,
that ain't me.
Listen, and you know how Bo goes,
Because
right?
if you could find
Yeah,
it.
he needs somebody to flick him on his big fat ass,
But see, I really want to thank you and your business, your family business, the company you continue to grow. You're here where you live and work, and you're part of the community and inspiration to a lot of people. You are championing the causes that the old fellas told you about. You believe in it. You're showing it. I really want to congratulate everyone in the PLP and all around the Bahamas. Once again, Shane, Obi, Joe, Jerome, everyone who's on, and Nikki and their people, the War Room people, the party delegates, stalwarts, office bearers, all the branches from Abaco all the way down to Inagua. Great thank you to our party leader for allowing all of us this great opportunity to assist in our country's development. Our deputy leader, who showed, I think, immense poise and class in his presentation. The chairman, who was still, going strong after all these years. I think, we saw in the last 3 days the great combination of what I think only the PLP can do, and that is to put style and substance in its proper context and begin a platform for us to tell our story. We haven't done it yet, but I think that's a great introduction. We are fired up, we're ready to go. We got the best head coach, I'm telling you, Brandon, not a Pat Riley. We got the best team in the Bahamas, there's no doubt about that. And we got a deep bench, and we have fellas who really could, they could hit the long ball. We're building something called Team Bahamas, one goal, one voice, one people. We're moving towards a great society. I really think this is an economic agenda. It's a conversation we have to have. But right now, in the next several months, we'll demonstrate that this is the best team for this country right now.
Danny Johnson, I appreciate it very much. And of course, OJ would be very, very proud of yourself and your siblings, your sisters, and all of those. And we thank you. And it's always a pleasure to have you on the show with me.
And my wonderful mother, Sylvia.
Absolutely. Sylvia would slap me right side my mouth.
Princess and the Pigtail Alley, man.
I remember when I first started talking radio years ago.
She's calling you.
She's calling me. Now, Steve, I heard you say just now. Now, see, let me just tell you. No. You listen to me. Listen to me. You did not say it, and you did not get it right, and you must get it right. Because we have to be correct in what we're saying. If we're not correct in what we're saying, how you want the people to understand what you say? You hear me? All right, there. See you later.
Love you.
Say,
say, I love you.
I say,
Where's you going?
Yes, ma'am. Anyway, all the best.
But I think they're proud of us.
Yeah.
And we gotta now push, to combine the generations to get this country going in one direction, to unify us as a people. We gotta listen to what those old people said, pay attention to the ancient landmarks, look at what H.W. Brown, R.E. Cooper, Reverend Coldbrook, what they were telling us. Look what H.M. Taylor, L.O. Penn, and P.G. Christie is showing us. Let's go after the big ideas. Let's be Bahamian again, man. Get with the program.
I appreciate it. Let's go home, Stevie. You got that jingle right on time. It's been a beautiful week and a beautiful night, a beautiful day, and a good conversation. And yeah, we're all feeling good about the whole matter. Listen, go to church on Sunday. Do all the things that you want to do. Take your family out to church. You go to church too. Pray for your sins and all that kind of stuff. And certainly keep safe, because we want you back here next week. And there are many more things that we can tell you that you should do, but by this time you should know what they are, right? And don't forget to pray for the nation's leaders, both Christie and Minnis and everybody else. Pray for them, because they need direction. And pray for yourselves that you have the direction to make sure that we can take this country in the new direction. We've been brought to you tonight by Mount Tabor, Ministry of Tourism, Hadji's, Majority Rule, Commonwealth Bank, Rocky Farms, the PLP Empowerment Convention, Danny Johnson, Danny Spices, Davinia Spices, my goodness, Cool Tech, Bahamian Beverages, Kalita Insurance, Superwash. And that's the kind of thing that happens when you bring somebody who was there for a long time, right? Bank in the Bahamas, Super Value, the Shore Bistro. Go there in the morning for some boiled fish. Advantage Assurance and Brokers, Ross Electric, Executive Printers, the People's Movement. They got a big thing on Tuesday night over at the BCPU Hall, McKinney Media Group, for the best results in advertisement and public relations. We appreciate you being here with us. Good night from Hard Copy. Have a fantastic, safe weekend, God willing. We'll see you back here on Monday.
Thank you, brother. That was great, man.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it.
Really great. Really great. But it also demonstrated to me, you're right. We articulating what it is.
Yeah.
What this thing.